Good on, my friends. I'm Rick, and this is your seat at the table, and we are fluffing out cycle 9 of a game not traveled, or my would-be colonial exploration and development game, however you want to blow it down. And on my ship traffic rolls for cycle 9, one of the events was a cargo ship arrives with special cargo prepaid by one of my platinums. 5 prefabs seeking to start a new village to be named after the platinum. So, knowing that he wants to set up a village, I'm going to designate at least one of these automatically as a housing fab and one of these as a power fab. So that way I it just covers those two bases. It would be questionable if he didn't have those to start with, and then we have to determine what the other three would be. So we're going to roll randomly on these channels. Another thing I want to establish is exactly which platinum this is, because there are 6 that came with my colony, and I'm going to look at the blueprint guide because I believe the chart, there's a section in the back, in the back of this. So it should be in the front of the core book, but for some reason it just didn't get it in there. But this is explaining your first colony, what you brings with you, what you have to start with, etc. So I have six platinums, either wealthy individuals and probably their families, who accompanied my colonial effort and in part helped fund it. And so they all each brought a major one or two major factories or other builds that help support the colony. They're generating revenue and profit from themselves. They're looking to expand and grow just like my colony, my house lord is. So it's kind of just the way I set this stuff up. So being that, like I said, on roll my dice, it's going to be, in this case, since there's only 6 of them, I'm just going to flip a d6. Let me get it up here. And it's a 5. So if I run down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my housing platinum is who this is. So at some point, my platinums are going to build personal estates and things like this. There are event rolls and stuff in here that allow me to charge them for the land to build stuff on. I could just arbitrarily just decide to go ahead and give it to them and not do that. That's a matter of flavor as to what you, the player, want to do with your house, and is the way that works out. I'm going to close this up and get this out of the way for a minute. And so I'm going to look at the prefabs over here. I have a chart. Surprise, surprise. Excuse me. And I'm going to roll here until I get a housing fab, a fabrication, prefabrication. In a lot of vernacular, in my mind, this is something that comes in like a big shipping canister, a big crate, and you hit a button and it just unfolds and sets itself up. That's how I've envisioned fabs work. So they're kind of this block pre-manufactured device technology that unfolds and sets itself up to become whatever structure that it is designed to be. And that makes it, for simplicity's sake, down the road, when my military gets big enough and I want to deploy forward operational bases someplace or set up outposts, I will purchase fabrications and I will, or manufacture them myself, with the idea that I can then go out and send them out with the military and they just pop them up, and an advanced version of stuff that goes on today all the time. So we're looking for a housing fab, and because they're prefabs and I'm not building them, there's no reason why they can't be of a higher technology base. It's just is not going to be a problem. So in this case, I'm looking for a housing project of some sort. So 83, and that's not going to work. 82 is not going to work. And also looking for some kind of power source too. So that would be sure into the 80s at the moment. 86, that's all armored stuff there, which is not going to work. 78. Man, oh, the 70s, damn it. What's with the 80s? What's with the 80s? Come on. All right, there we go. 43. a commercial fab. That's not going to work. 70 is a dome snorkel. Well, he's not setting up under an ocean, so I don't have to worry about that. 96. An education fab. That's not something that I need right now. See a 5. And that's a storage fab, of course. 30. There we go. A Tech One housing fab. Nothing fantastic, nothing special. Tech One, which doesn't hold a whole lot of people. I believe it holds 30 people, but don't quote me on that. It's still a start. And then I want, of course, some kind of power source that's going to run the colony. So 73, nope. 67, armored, nope. 50, 59. Let me see, how many are in here? Yeah, we're just gonna designate it for simplicity's sake. We're just gonna set up a solar array. Tech One solar array. So this leaves me with 3 more fabrications to roll, and anything would be reasonable. 80. An armored bunker. Jeez, dude. He's a bunch of military operations for a housing guy. I'm gonna wonder what he's up to. You know, what are you up to? What do you think you're going to be defending against? 37 is a second housing fab, which is fine. So now we have more, and then I need one more random operation. So 25, what do we got here? And agroponic, which makes perfectly good sense. So my would-be housing platinum, excuse me, wants to set up a village out somewhere else on the planet, and has pre-purchased and somehow knew in advance where the hell we were going to set up and have them delivered. It's nice to know all my platinums had more destination knowledge than I did about the house lord has about where we were going to end up. Where these freighters have been just kind of shadowing us, stalking us for some time. So anyway, we're going to get 2 Tech One housing fabs and one Tech One solar array to run everything. One Tech One armored bunker, which I guess makes sense there on the frontier after all, and a Tech Two agroponics operation. Now this matters because once I set up the village, then I'm going to plug in both their needs and their production into my exchange, and of course I'm going to levy a small tax on the housing platinum for the privilege of having his own damn town, and this just is the way this thing would work out in my mind. So in the second event, I had a cargo cruiser show up, and this is a Class 8 hull, and that is I want to say a 5,000 or 6,000 ton cargo cruiser, which potentially could be carrying 15 or 20,000 tons of cargo on board. Far more than I could purchase or sell to them. But according to this, it was also bringing a prefab construction company that wants to come to the planet and set up. I don't know. The interesting thing would be, first off, let's take a look at this prefab construction company. The colony itself the house came with its own construction operation, which allows me to build one build every 5 cycles, as long as I got all the material and the material and the cost paid for. Having a second operation for construction would double down. That means I could build 2 different builds every 5 cycles. All right, you stagger them so you get one every couple cycles. Something's being completed. As long as you have the materials needed and the cost paid for. Or platinums or independent like guilds potentially could utilize these construction operations to do the same thing if events occur that allow them to do so, or as I go to negotiate with my platinums to find out if to allow them to do that. So blueprint guide, that's Tech 0. says Commerce and Labor's planetary construction companies, and we got construction ships, which are a thing, and construction guilds, contracted builds, automated construction companies. That's from the EPIC rules. So let's see. That's talking construction guilds. Oh, for Pete's sake, where'd you at? Where'd you go? Prefab construction company. Either by using a construction prefab or construction pod, the house may gain temporary or long-term construction capacity. Using prefab or pod-based construction will require dedicated housing, power, and storage fabs or pods as well. So there is a prefab that's basically a shop and all the equipment necessary to construct things, and then they get the resources and the material. Also, they need the labor and the technicians to come out of the house pool, and they're paid for as an individual. So first things first, let's decide whether this is a platinum thing or a non-platinum thing. And so I have, let's give it a 75-25. So 75% less. This is something that one of my platinums is arranged for because they're going to grow their business, and this helps them do that. And in that case, if it's owned by the platinum, then the platinum, if the house chooses to build something using this package, then the cost for producing the item goes to the platinum, because that's where that expense would go. And if this is an independent, well, it's a similar thing. I'm now becoming setting up the potential for a neo-platinum or a wannabe platinum to get initially started. So I could eventually see this individual expand and grow and become a construction platinum. So anyway, let's just roll and see how it's related. And a 92. So this is an independent. Just kind of a neo-platinum for now operation. So at that point, they're just going to show up on the colony and they're going to establish themselves. And other than me doing the paperwork on plugging their needs into my exchange and my work pool, there's nothing really there for me to do. I don't need to negotiate with this individual. I don't really need to do any bio background, set up a character sheet for him or anything like that at this point. There might come a point in time when that happens, and I would need to do that. Meanwhile, we are also looking at a cargo cruiser, and the cargo cruiser special cargo happened to just be this particular package. So that was part of the event role, but it also would buy and sell things, and off the mineral resources from my exchange. So we're going to go look at page 12, and that way I got my resource chart up here. And now, technically speaking, there's another chart in here I should be using, but I'm not going to go hunt it down right now because it would also include manufactured materials that I'm making. So in this case, we're going to see how many things they have to sell, and we roll a single dice, which is 6. So we're going to roll 6 times over here, and you can figure out what all that is. No billum. So we're going to say, where is it? We're going to sell NO, and we'll D100 it, which is 79. So it's possible that they're going to sell more than my exchange can absorb, and then I would automatically cut it off. So you only buy what you need, or what you want, or what your max ability to store is. So if you exceed that, then or financially speaking exceed it, you make a choice on what you're going to buy and what you're not going to buy. So 11 is B boron. 61. 2 is 95. Water. Always a nice commodity because I can turn around and resell it. 29 tons of surplus. So 1, 2, 3. 77. Scandinium, Scandamium, SCANDIUM, SC. 69, 55, Neptunium, whatever. And that would be 7. And one more in aluminum, always a highly sought after material. And of course only 5 tons of that too. Great. And then we're going to see how much they want to buy. And we'll roll 1D. We got 5 items they want to buy. So 42. Yeah, I gotta hunt down that other chart because it includes manufactured materials and both stuff that they will sell to my house, which I will need, and stuff I may be manufacturing and have in surplus, which I would want to sell. And not doing so would be kind of foolish. And no, that's just wasn't thinking about it at the moment. Now I'm thinking about it, then I'm thinking I want to get it and figure out where that chart is. Platinum, PT. And we have all this. I don't have hardly any of that stuff, so I don't see this. It's sad. I'm likely to go broke trying to buy from this guy. 29 AU's gold. But if I can swing it, then I get my negatives up or my surplus stockpiles up to where I'm generating revenue off of them. Then it's a long-term worth buying into rubidium RB. I try to avoid duplication. Oh, 76. I try to avoid duplication. So if the ship's selling me something, I don't want them buying it back from me because that's just I don't know, a speculative whatever, and it can bankrupt the butt, and it's not right in my mind. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, that's 5 items for that particular freighter. And then I had a third freighter that is a Class 2 hull, which is a cargo carrier that's actually a pirate owned, and but it's masquerading as an independent. And it has a special cargo, and it's bringing me 1D10 components that they want to sell too. So let's see, where does it say? 12 ship components. So 12 of those. Excuse my cracking voice. And we will go and look at page 57. Yeah. And I'll probably run across that very chart that I was wanting a minute ago too. And I'm not going to re-roll it if I do, because I'm just not gonna. Alright, so special cargo chart, and there are 1, 2, 3, let's see, one, yeah, 2. Okay, there's 2 of them. So just make it roll and see which it is. And 10 is on the first chart. And we'll roll again. And 15. A specialist seeking to open up a franchise, a tailor, a luxury good maker, a consumer good maker, jewelry, etc. So this is a good thing for my colony because a specialist would be just that. It's just going to add some flavor to the colony and potentially generate some more revenue. So we rolled a 15, which is specialist looking to set up shop, which would, once again, be a different video because that way I can walk through exactly what that is and establish it. So once I've done those things, I mean, then I'm free to not, when they occur again, I just can plug them in and maybe make a mention to it. But I'll walk everybody through exactly what we're doing because there's somewhere in here, there's a chart. No, there's something in here that lets me help whittle that down a little bit. And we want to figure out what kind of components are being sold. Because like I said, I did purchase that damaged freighter, and if I can get the right stuff to fix it back up, then hey, that'd be great because then I can have another ship running and make use of it. Let's see. So we need to roll on the chart, and we're going to do it 12 times. Oh, yeah. I know, you just love the rolling the dice, right? So there's a cargo bay 1. And 66, life support system 2, See, another thing that would allow me, some of these things will allow me to modify my existing ships. Now, my mining ships are pretty much toast because at a class 1 hull, they're maxed out component-wise. What the amount of tonnage you can put into a ship hull is pretty maxed out. But those two scouts are only 90 tonners, and they have the bare bones. So I could actually convert one of those scouts into a cargo ship, or I can convert it in by adding updating it or upgrading its life support, doubling its crew capacity, which means I could use it to carry troops on board and or passengers. So the list just goes on. And the options are all but limitless. So we have an electronic countermeasure, an ECM. That's nice. Once again, I could plug that in. This is a Tech 3 version. I could potentially plug that into one of my my scouts to give it some better defenses. 48. A science package. That's an expensive thing too. Oof. I might pass on that one. It is 140 credits to purchase. It weighs like 100 tons or 50 tons, and basically it's a science deck and all the technology and equipment that goes with it, but it's not equipped with staff. So I would have to find some technicians sufficiently of Tech 3 or higher to operate it, or it would do me no good. There's other options for it too, but I may have to pass on that one. A Cargo Bay 3. Which is, so Cargo Bay 1 holds 100 tons of cargo. Cargo Bay 2 holds 150. A Cargo Bay 3 holds 300, and so forth, right? Until you get up into the Tech 5 versions, and then there's staggered to A, B's, and C's kind of stuff, I think, in some of that stuff. So 46 is a naval particle battery. That is a big naval capital grade weapon that would pretty much, I don't know that I could shoehorn into my scout ship, let alone operate it and power it. And it's also 43.75 credits, which might be something I might pass on once again. 36. Sublight drives. And we're going to do, it says roll 2d10 plus 2. So two 10s added together, so 15, 16 times 17. That is a valuable commodity. At 5.5 credits apiece, that is not going to be a cheap purchase, but if I can swing it, I might try to do that. 36. And I just hit that twice. Let me re-roll it. So just keep in mind that my resources cash-wise are limited. I came in with 500 credits surplus, and I'm slowly working my way through that as I'm trying to get my exchange up and operating. So it is quite possible to bankrupt yourself, and if you get to a point where you simply can't pay for things, you're not going to buy them. That's just the way that works. The third-party option would be to go and negotiate with one of your platinums to see if they're willing to purchase some materials, certain things, but you have to be realistic. It wouldn't be fair to me to go to my housing platinum and ask them to buy a bunch of weapons for my ships because there's no return in it for them. Now, potentially, if I go to my cartage platinum, my storage guy, and ask him to help purchase cargo bays so we can convert one of our scouts to a cargo ship and then give him a cut, then that's all part of negotiations and things, and whether or not you want to go down that rabbit hole. So it just adds more paperwork to how you want to deal with stuff. Life support system 5. That is probably something I will pass on because it is 76 credits, and I don't have any hulls anywhere near big enough to handle or require it. 99 is a fuel cell 2. Now there's a nice addition. So between the fuel cell and the life support and ECM, I could pack these things into one of my scouts, make the scout go further and carry more people and benefit from that way. A Cargo Bay 4. And I don't know if I'd want to buy that either, because that's 45 credits, and it's pretty good size. So Cargo Bay 4 is 600 tons of cargo capacity, which is quite a lot. The downside is, of course, is the ship has to have the mass push, enough sublights and starlight drives to maneuver and push that thing through space and through jump. So it's probably going to be outside of my need ratio at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I need 2 more components. 74, which is a shield 4, which wouldn't be too bad, but those things are pretty heavy. It costs 43 credits, and wouldn't kind of be, I don't know, might be too much for my would-be upgrade of a scout to handle. See, so last one is a 15, a naval autocannon, a NAC. Now, a naval autocannon is a lower grade. It's on. I want to say it's like in the Tech 2 category of naval grade weapons. So it is next to a missile battery, a naval missile battery. It is the lowest technology for naval grade weaponry. It's pretty potent. The downside, of course, is it uses kinetic weapon energy. It needs ammunition for to be fired, and it would require a ammo bay to be effective. Ideally, you could mount this thing in your ship. It has a limited cartridge or capacity for fire, and once it's depleted, if you can't reload it, then it's a 1 or 2 shot wonder, and then it may not be such a great investment for you. So I'm looking at probably 300 or 400 credits worth of components here right off the bat, and I know my surplus credits are right around 3 something, so I'm not likely to want to blow my entire wad. I would look at this very carefully, and I'm most likely to purchase is the Life Support 2, as many of those SLD, the sublight drives as I can swing, and maybe the ECM2 or ECM3, maybe. It's always to keep in mind that if you can stockpile these things later, when you've got a lot of revenue rolling in and you have surplus cash that you can buy all this stuff and you just warehouse it, because at some point you'll be able to assemble ships around these things and find places for them. But until you get to that position, it's not something you really want to get involved with and do, and take your chances with it, so on and so forth. That's how you look at it. Anyway, this is great. I mean, it's looking up. We're only 3 actual cycles into the colony operating, and things are growing. Things are increasing. New stuff's coming along. I've got a couple new Neo Platinums potentially. So on. Until next time. Going on, my friends. This is Rick, and hey, if you like the channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, tell your buddies, tell your friends, tell your coworkers.